Chapter 18. Good Luck and Bad. The Clipper's luck lasted. She rounded the Horn and headed north, all hands still aboard her. The whole crew hated the boatswain for striking the sailor too ill to go aloft. The boatswain hated everyone, but he got the ship's wreckage repaired. Once in a while, Nate saw the snowy peaks of the Andes in South America. He felt like an old hand when he crossed the line again. Though he and Seabird could not see jungle-clad shores, they did see drifting trees. And a weary parrot flapped from a log into the rigging. Even when Nate saw land again, he saw no jungle. Rolling gold-colored hills with dark oak trees loomed out of a fog. The Clipper pierced these shores of California through a gap in high cliffs. Beyond this golden gate, she let go her hook in the vast harbor of San Francisco Bay. A few years before, the hills of San Francisco had been empty wilderness. Then gold was discovered. Northeastward, in mountains, streams, and gullies, nuggets were waiting for people with shovels. Soon ships, covered wagons, and saddle horses were bringing thousands of wild-eyed prospectors. San Francisco grew from a clutter of tents on a beach to a board shack town, then into a city. Now stores, hotels, and banks stretched up from the shore. The bay held a forest of masts. Men were still seeking good luck in the hills. Everyone guessed that the hated boatswain would jump ship here and head for the mines. So, before going ashore on business, Ezra allowed him to quit and collect his back wages. He even offered the man a ride to a dock in the captain's boat. "Not back yet," grunted the boatswain, hanging back. But with Ezra gone, he hired a fisherman's rowboat, loading his chest and sea bags. Still he hesitated. Nate leaned against the wheel, Seabird soaring nearby from the cabin skylight. The boatswain glared at the boy, lips curled in an evil grin. "My turn now to show off," he snarled. In a matter of seconds, he spoiled the Clipper's good luck. He plucked Seabird from her socket and ran for his boat, tossing her up and backward over the stern. Chapter 19. The Sea is an Enemy. For Nate, those were nightmare seconds. He couldn't cry out, even when Seabird soared over him. It seemed that the magic of flight had freed her from earth. Her spirit reached for the sky, yet her body longed for the sea. Ivory, amber, whalebone, slate, and coral urged her down. Beyond the stern, she dived into the bay. Nate kicked off his shoes by the rail and went after her. He opened his eyes underwater and saw a whiteness twisting, turning, growing smaller. He swam straight down with all his might, but he could not overtake the sinking Seabird. By now the whole deck knew. "That dirty scum of a boatswain! He's got away!" "Forget him!" bawled the mate. "Get that lad out!" They hauled the sobbing boy aboard. He slumped on a hatch. "We're plumb sorry," said a cook. "Seabird was this ship's soul." "We just can't let ye dive again," said the mate. Even at this low tide, bottom is 15 fathoms. No man can live at 90 feet. Nate hid from them. Let him be, said the cook. Let him cry. Men wandered miserably to the side, gazing at San Francisco. Look, cried somebody. Nate stood on the rail, stripped to the skin. Lifting a short chain in his hands, he leaped. The chain took him downward now without swimming, down through green water, a darker green, and cold. Had he lost track of Seabird about here? He let out air in a bubbly stream. His ears and his lungs hurt. Down, down, and more bubbles, his head pounding. Down, his last air bubbling away. How good it would feel to let the chain go and to breathe again. Terror clutched him. Down there, cold depths, crushing. But down there, a dim gray thing. If he could only... He's coming to now, Captain Ezra, the cook was saying. But he swallowed the whole bait. We sounded for bottom, and you know what? 15 fathoms lie under our bow, but only 7 astern. Nate reached that reef 42 feet down. Most grown men wouldn't dare go that deep. But Nate, he brought up Seabird. Chapter 20. The Sea is a Friend. Thus Seabird returned to Nate and Ezra. With them she sailed through the Golden Gate, westbound for the Orient. Day by day, Nate finished his nagging tasks swiftly and well, so that he could have more free time with Seabird. Then he would take her aloft to the masthead, where the two of them had a world of sky to themselves. Below, the sun chased rope shadows over the bulging sails. Far down, the lee rail hissed in foam. Taut rigging sang them its high, wild, joyous songs. And Nate was glad to be alive, riding blue hills of the vast Pacific on flowing wind. Aye, the sea is vast and deep, said Ezra one day, in more ways than one. Back home, we think the earth is made of dry land, that the ocean is just a wrinkled old blanket pinned to the beach. 'Tis the other way round. The earth is a flooded ball, most of it water, and we, on the sliver of wood adrift for weeks on the deep, have time to think. Nate, I'll confess that when we left home, your actions had me worried, but no more. The sea has taught you well. The clipper anchored at the Sandwich Islands. The native name was Hawaii. Boys and girls swam out to the ship with their parents, wet bodies shining like copper. When Ezra started ashore in his boat, he let Nate swim back with the youngsters. What? This Yankee boy could do their tricks in the water? Then he was one of them. From then on, Nathaniel Brown went native. They played games in groves of feathery palms and slid over waterfalls into deep, flower-lined pools. They dived through worlds of waving plants, stiff coral fans, and bright-colored fishes. They raced with surfboards on the crests of mile-long waves. They ate delicious feasts. Meat, seafoods, roots, and fruits baked in hot rock trenches under steaming seaweed. And in the warm evenings scented with ginger blossoms, Nate sprawled on mats in palm-thatched houses and told stories of Seabird, of his father, and far-off New England. It was all Ezra could do to get Nate back to the ship, headed for China. Remember, he smiled, Seabird and I had to leave such islands too when we were young. But you'll return. Chapter 21. Magic can be spun from simple things. More weeks swam by on curling hills of water, more weeks of singing rigging and salty spray. Were Nate and Seabird really sailing to the Orient? Or were they hung in a box of billowing cloth while the Orient slid toward them over the sea? China came first. Nate awoke and knew that China was there. Sun brushed a line of gold hilltops across a misty scroll. Then the roar of a gong tore the mist, and there was China. And what was China to this boy? It was narrow streets with a serpent's turnings, strings of shark fins, kites across the sky, teasing smells, tidbits on glowing coals, bales of silk, drums, bells and jewels, firecrackers popping on poles to frighten devils, packets of tea, and cats, and furry puppies, and glossy crickets kept for their cheerful songs. China was white doves wheeling past the red gates of a temple, and incense climbing the shadows to golden dragons. It was two thin men lugging one fat man in his sedan chair, and tottering loads moving past on human feet. China toiled on barren hills. China slaved on the plains. China swirled on the waters in sampans and high junks. But China, big as it was, did not hold all the Orient. The boy saw Siam, Burma, Ceylon, India, and spice-scented islands. Nate saw men wager on fighting elephants and on fishes in a bowl. Whole empires, said Ezra, have fought like elephants or fishes, losing or winning for a time. Then he and Nate walked in a jungle over ruined cities. These cities won great battles, said Ezra, but they destroyed themselves. Nate heard wild cocks crowing. Black leopards came to drink at a village pool. Pilgrims left food for a stone god asleep in a cave. Cat-sized bats hung in trees like heavy fruits. A deer the size of a rabbit hid under a leaf. A man-eating tiger coughed in a bamboo thicket. Seabird was almost stolen by jungle monkeys. She never hinted that, in the Orient, such things had happened to her before. Even the clipper seemed new again. In the moonlight, her towering sails were ivory pagodas, jeweled with stars.